Just need something to write with, and if you want to here, thank you. For those of you online, hi everyone. Hi. Oh, coming in from near and far. Hey everyone. I hope you're all feeling well. If you're on Zoom, you're feeling good? Okay, wonderful. So we are handing out some handouts. We have a special edition of class today, and you will be receiving all of them are on.
I'm gonna look right now, and I'll send it to him right now.
Okay. Okay, good. So Julie is going to be emailing you guys right now a handout that we're working on. I'll show it to you. There's two parts of it. There's a picture, and there is some words, and there's a beautiful poem. And this week's class is timely, okay, because it's all about growth, which is what our whole series is about. But we're going to tap into the growth of this time of year. So Sunday night is the festival of Tu B'Shvat, okay? And I don't know about you, but if you blink in America, you miss it, right? It's not like you go into Jewel and there's signs. It's not like Rosh Hashanah or Passover. It's not like that. Living in Israel for a month or 2 months before Tu B'Shvat, everywhere you go, it's all about Tu B'Shvat, right? Everywhere, the whole shuk is, the whole marketplace is it's unbelievable to be in Israel this time of year. But when I got to America, I literally blinked and missed it that first year, because you don't feel it. Like, does anyone feel like it's time to celebrate the trees? Right? It's like the bleakest part of the winter. In Israel, when you walk through the streets of Jerusalem, you actually see what we sing. If anyone knows, you probably know Paula. Hashkedi ya porachat. Do you know that song? No? You didn't? Okay. So the famous words that are brought down in the Mishnah, in the book of Mishnayot, is Hashkedia Parachat, which means the almond tree is blooming. And during this time of year in Israel, when Tu B'Shvat hits, most of the rain has already fallen. And although in different parts of the world, like, you were like, is there any way out of this winter? Like, is this ever going to end? It's like every day it's like another, right? And people are like, oh, just wait. Everyone keeps telling me, just wait, just wait. I'm like, oh my gosh, what did we get ourselves into? But in Israel, things are already looking up and spring is in the air. Could you believe that? Right? It's a short winter. It rains very intensely. And but are we good? Are we on?
I'm sending it in a minute.
Okay, no, but I'm saying, are the ladies still on? Okay, hi guys. I don't see you, but I'm happy you're with us. Okay, so it's an exciting time of year to really tap into the energy, because as we've said many times in this class, our life is all about changing. It's all about growth. It's all about getting out of our comfort zone. And I'm just looking around here. So none of you here were, last night, there was a class for Momentum Ladies, this Woman, Wine, and Wisdom that we do once a month. And the topic that we spoke about was fear and courage and getting over our fears and just getting out there, making something happen with our life, which is very, very in line with this time of year. So could everyone look at the picture that you have on your lap? Okay.
Coming in a minute, guys.
You guys are going to be doodling and writing words, okay? And you can write notes on it. I want this to be all marked up. What comes right in the middle, in that big hole in the tree, is the dream that you have in your heart, something that you want to make happen. And as I shared last night, it's so perfect how it's falling. Tu B'Shvat is usually a month later, right? But this time of year, we're only on January 11th. Like, how's everyone doing with their New Year's resolutions, right? Thank God Doris reminded me, like it was literally 3 hours after New Year's on Saturday morning. Like we were just, and she's like, well, I'm not going to have that piece of chocolate babka cake because I just made my New Year's. And I'm like, all right, I already blew it, So 10 days later, 11 days later, how are you guys all doing, right? So the joke is that Lori Palatnik, she says every year, everyone wants to hit the gyms. So every January, memberships surge, right? Like everyone's signing up. And she says, but they never build any more lockers. They never put in more lockers. Why? Because human nature, right? We get all inspired and then we lose the inspiration. So the dream that we have right now is going to go in the middle. It could be one word, one thing you want to work on, one character trait. We've been talking about so many different traits this year. One thing that you want to work on, whether it's your generosity or your jealousy or your anger or your, I don't know, volunteering or whatever it is, one word, one dream, writing a book, whatever it is, goes in the middle. And then in order to do that, we need to go out on a limb. You see the limb? Okay, we need to go out on a limb. There are going to be certain things that we need to overcome because not dreams don't happen by themselves, right? In fact, last night I quoted Theodore Herzl, who never got to see the state of Israel, right? He never made it there. He was born in the 1800s. But he dreamed it, and he speaks about dreams. If you dream it, it's a reality. If you don't dream it, it'll never happen. So, but in order to take that dream and to make it happen, there has to be that going out of your comfort zone, that going out on a limb. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the 4 elements. Okay, these are the 4 elements of the world, of the earth, of nature. We have soil, water, air, fire. And what I want to help you all understand is that we have everything that we need to make things happen. So let's talk about the 4 elements for a little bit, and then there's a lot that I want to share today. Well, I'd like to start with this. So the 4 elements, and some of you were at last week when we celebrated Rosh Chodesh. We celebrated, we had this class on dressing your truth, right? And did I talk about the 4, like there's 4 numbers, 4 personalities, but each one represents a different element. There's the air, like the very flowy, there's the water also, which is also a flowy energy. There's the fire, which is like the passion, like leadership, like harsh, you know, maybe more male-centric personality traits. And then there's the soil, okay? So there's so many ways of taking these 4 and understanding them with a Jewish lens, okay? I'm gonna put this out here. I want you guys to give me some answers. I know that you know these answers, okay? What are the 4 holy cities of Israel? Take a guess of one. Scott, what energy does Scott represent? Yeah, Kabbalah. Woohoo!
Water.
What is it? It's air. Okay. Sfat is air. And when I'm in Sfat, and you could understand this, you know, when you see all those like holy women with their like long flowy skirts and their turbans, and their bodies are literally holding down their souls because they would be floating, right? They're so spiritual, these beings. They're all in the air, right? Sfat has air. Okay. Julie just had one. Julie, which one did you say? Jerusalem, one of the holy cities. Which energy, which nature is represented by Jerusalem? Fire, okay? And think about how the 3rd holy temple that we're still waiting for is supposed to come down in fire, right? It's supposed to come out of the sky. It's going to be given by God. That's how we learn. So fire is Jerusalem, right? What other holy cities do we have? We got 2 out of 4. Nope. Hebron. Which energy, which element represents Hebron? That's the place where the matriarchs and patriarchs are buried. So which energy would that be? Soil, okay? And the last one is water. Which city in Israel represents water? Not Eilat. We could fight if Eilat is part of Israel or not, right? Which city has water? Not Tel Aviv.
What's the first one?
Tiberias, that's the main water source, right? When the Kinneret is full, Israel is doing great. And when there's a drought and that Kinneret, I mean, I've been there when you see the lines, like when it's really, really low down, and it's a terrible thing when Israel needs to pump in water from neighboring countries. I mean, it's expensive, it's disastrous, right? That's why when it rains in Israel, we literally dance in the streets. We sing, Mashiv Haruach, Morid Hageshem. Like there's certain months of the year that we're praying for rain every single day, right? And living in Portland all those years, and I'm reading the morning prayers, and I'm like, do I really need to still pray for rain? The prayers are going to Israel because rain, water is life. Okay, so now let's take, so we have the 4 holy cities. When I teach how to make challah, I talk about how challah, that we have all these 4 elements. Let's see, the flour is the earth, the water is the water, the air is when the dough rises, and the fire is when we bake it, right? So there's so many ways that we could use these 4 elements in every way. Now we're gonna bring it down to a tree and you. Because this holiday, it's Rosh Hashanah Le'ilanot. It's the holiday, the New Year's for the trees. What does that have to do with us? Maybe that's why we haven't been celebrating it, and none of you know what carob is. Seriously, you guys have homework. By the way, the homework for all of you online is to look up what this has to do with Judaism. So this is carob or boxer. Susie, did you grow up eating this on Tu B'Shvat? No. Laura, not you? None of you? I'm shocked.
I did.
You did? Who did?
Nadine.
Nadine, I'm so grateful. I have 20 ladies here, and you did, Julie? At Hebrew school, that's what I meant. Okay, like you would get a little baggie with boxer, carob chips, and they have carob covered rice cakes, and okay, but this is really significant to this time, so that's your homework, okay, to find out why. Okay, so where were we? Let's talk about these 4 elements. Okay, so which one should we start with? Let's start with the soil, okay? Okay, first of all, just backtrack a little bit, okay? So Rosh Hashanah Le'ilanot, this is the new year for the trees, and I asked, what does that have to do with us? Okay, so the Torah tells us that man is compared to a fruit tree. Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh, okay? That man, ki ha'adam, man, eitz hasadeh is like the tree of a field, okay? Oh, that's a custom. Okay, Sue is saying the custom of waiting 3 years till we cut a boy's hair. A fruit tree also, well, it might bear fruit, but we wait 3 years before using the fruit. Okay, so very good. Okay, so lots of connections between the fruit tree and man. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so let's do the soil first. So as women, we provide, especially as women, but this is something that I feel very passionate about, that it is our ability, our gift, one of our many gifts is to create space for other people to flourish. This is what gifted women do. We create space. We create space inside of ourselves to bring another person into existence, and we create space wherever we go. It's women have the ability to go to not be stuck in their ego as much as men. It might be harder for men, but we have this ability to always create space. So the soil is so important, and it's everything. The soil is the most important part because it is the nutrients. It is everything, the lifeline for this tree, whether it's going to succeed or not succeed, it's all in the quality of the soil. Okay, and the soil is what creates the space and the nutrients for growth, which is what it's all about, right? And the tree is only as strong as its roots. So if we don't have good nutrients, if we don't have good space, the tree is not going to succeed. It'll topple over, right? The roots are so, so important. And we could talk about that, what that nutrients, what that soil is in our life, in our homes as Jewish women. That the nutrients might be the morals and the values and what we're giving over. What are we creating space for, right? What are we putting in our existence to really make us strong? So that is the soil. And just talking about roots a little bit, when I lived in Israel, so, in Shari Chesed, which is where I lived for 5 years, the first 5 years of my marriage, that's in the heart of Rehavia. Every home had a beautiful tree outside of it. Esrog trees, like the citrons, olive trees, like there was little trees outside of every home. Now, Shari Chesed was a community. What's the word when you totally change a community? Like you gentrify it, maybe? Yeah. Like you change it. It was like an old rundown, like one of the oldest communities in Jerusalem. And now it's like $3 million homes. That would be the cheapest little home. Okay. So I was living there. We were living in a little teeny, like old home, but we were watching it totally change. So my next door neighbor was gutting a house and rebuilding a beautiful mansion. And I remember, like, I was coming home from Gan with my 2 kids at the time, bringing them from their play group. And we were watching as a crane came to lift an olive tree. It wasn't a huge tree. It wasn't huge at all. And it was so crazy how they needed such huge machinery to uproot this little tree. And when they finally got it out of the ground, I noticed that the roots were stronger and bigger and longer than the actual tree. So does anyone know this song, this Israeli dance? Tzadik katamar yifrach. No? Tzadik katamar yifrach, yifrach, tzadik katamar yifrach. It's like an old. What do those words mean? Okay, after class, I'm going to be teaching the Israeli dance to it. Just joking. Okay, maybe after COVID. Okay, so what do the words mean? Tzadik, a righteous person. Katamar, like a palm tree, yifrach, will sprout. A righteous person is compared to a palm tree. And what do we know about a palm tree? The roots are stronger than the tree. So I have this great saying that the Jewish people, we might be very small, right? But our roots go very deep. This is who we are. It's all about the roots. Who are the roots? Who are our roots? We didn't just land here. There's generations and generations of Jewish people that have chosen in against pogroms and inquisitions and holocausts and intifadas for us to be here, right? Literally 100 and I don't know how many generations, but over 100 generations of Jews have chosen in for you to be here, Jewish today. And it's a miracle. So our roots are not something to sneeze on. Okay, no one's sneezing anyways here, right? But it's so huge to understand who we are and who came before us. We have the forefathers and the foremothers and our bubbies that are still davening for us up in heaven, and the matriarchs. Rachel is still crying for the Jewish people to be returned to our borders in Israel and for peace, right? It never ends. So we have very strong roots. Okay, so that's the soil, the earth. Let's move on to the water. Does anyone want to guess? Dean, I'm looking at you because you for sure know this. You've done like 3 dozen challah bakes in your life. When we do our challah and we put all the ingredients in and we say, okay, now we're going to put in the water. The water represents, do you want to take a guess? I don't want to put you on the spot. But basically we say the water is like our lifeline. Like we can't live without water. You could survive without food for quite a long time. Actually, it's like 20 something days. But without water, it's like 2-3 days. Like water is life. And a Jew out of water represents Torah. It means Jewish connection. Okay, now you'll know. I'll call on you next time. Okay, so the Jewish connection, that if we don't, or if we're not steeped in it, if we're not connected somehow to our traditions, I mean, it's not me that's saying this. Look at the Pew Report, right? Have you heard of the Pew Report, which is a census that talks about the future of the Jewish people? They show it so clearly how, with what's going on and all the assimilation and everything, they show where we're going. There's not all Judaism is going to stay Jewish. That's just how it is, right? It's sad, but it's true, right? It's facts. So the only chance we have to succeed as Jewish people is to be connected to our lifeline as Jews, which is the Torah. And what I share during my challah bakes is that, we have lots of laws for kashrut Like, you could only eat this animal, you could only, in order to slaughter the animal ritually kosher, it needs to be done a certain way. It's called shrita, right? There's so many laws, the knife, the way, where you cut the vein, least, like the most, it's a very humane way where there's no pain to the animal. It's very quick. But there are no laws about shrita, slaughtering any fish. Why is that? And it's because a fish out of water is considered dead. And we need to take that and plug that into our life. A Jew that is not connected Jewishly has no chance to be Jewish in 2 or 3 generations. This is just statistics, right? So when we think of water, we think of what's important to us, our value system. We need that, it is our lifeline as Jews. Okay, so that's the water. Let's talk about the air. What does the air represent? So how do we say in Hebrew to breathe? It's a breath is nishima. You take in a breath, nishima. That word is mighty familiar. Sounds very close to neshama, the soul. The air, this element of air is spirituality. You can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't hold it, but we feel it. We know that it's there. A person that is connected to spirituality and someone that is disconnected, there's 2 completely different existences, right? Someone that has a spiritual source is living very differently. In fact, I just got off the phone with my mom, who's going through a hard thing with one of her siblings. And she said to me, if I didn't have God, if I didn't have faith, I don't know how I would get through this, right? And it's just so beautiful because my mother didn't always have faith or have God in her life. But now she's saying, how do people get through like hard things without having that connection? It's the only way. I don't know how the rest of the world, people that are disconnected spiritually, I don't know how they manage, right? But we know, like, there's a plan, there's a bigger, right? I don't know, we just have faith that we don't get it, but there's something bigger that helps us get through things. So that's the air, the soul, the nishima. And then the last one, okay? And this is also, I mean, they're all my favorites, but the last one, the last element is fire. So for our tree, we're going to translate fire into photosynthesis. Okay, photosynthesis, the way that we get heat and sun, and it transfers into energy and oxygen, and I don't know science very well, but you guys understand what I'm talking about, right? And this, what are you saying? Like the breathing in, the carbon dioxide, the oxygen, the whole way that miraculous ways of a tree growing and having this dual relationship with the world around it. Now, the warmth and the fire, there's 2 ways to translate this in my mind, okay? The warmth in my mind is community. It's everything. Having an inner circle, having family, friends, community. This is the greatest loss of COVID, is that people have detached from community. People are not everyone is sitting here. I have 20 amazing, beautiful ladies sitting in front of me with shining faces and masks. I'm so grateful. This is community, right? When we leave today, we have a skip in our step because we've seen people that we care about. And even though with the mask and it's harder, it's human connection. This is what life is all about. In fact, last night when I spoke about courage, I shared what are the top 10 fears? What are the top 10 fears and things that hold you back from being courageous? And one of the top, I mean, do you guys want to guess what 1 or 2 were? What thing? Yeah. So you want to share with me afterwards? Okay, anyone want to guess what a top 10 fear is? Failure is number 3. Ding. It's like Jeopardy. Okay, anyone else?
The fear of unknown.
The fear of the unknown. I can't remember what number, but that was right up there. Okay, losing people that you love, so death. Another one was getting hurt, like getting injured. And I can't remember all of them, but one of the main ones was loneliness. Loneliness, and and fear of uncertainty, everything, basically everything we've been dealing with since COVID started. Those are all the top 10 fears out there. And the fact that we could come together and still have community despite all the craziness is a blessing. It is a blessing. It is such an, it's the most basic need that human beings have. So loneliness, and we could fight that with just jumping in, being a part of community. Okay, so there's that part. There's like the people, there's the warmth, the relationships, the connections, which are so important. And the other part of the fire that really talks to me is the passion. Everyone has a passion and everyone has a dream. And that's what I want you guys to write right here in this middle part. What is that dream that you have in your heart? And what is it going to take to make it happen? Okay, so basically what I want, and I hope you guys, I see some people writing, so just, this is only for you, and doodle on it. And if you want, you could laminate it. I have a laminating little machine at home my kids use. You could laminate it, and then next year you could look at it again. Like this is an ongoing thing, but we don't want like 99% of the world to come back. Oh, it's another year, another New Year's resolutions, and you choose the same thing again and nothing has changed. Because we have everything we need. We have all of these elements in our life to create the change that we need to make. We have everything. We have community. We have the beautiful soul. We have the spirituality. We have the Torah, the wellspring that we're connected to as Jewish people. Not everyone have a guidebook for life. We do. Remember the story I shared last week with we have that winning lottery ticket. We're so blessed, and sometimes it's in our back pocket and we didn't even realize that we're holding it our entire existence, right? What a tragedy that is, right? And we have all of these elements, and the soil. We have the roots. We have people to lean on. We have people going all the way back to the beginning of our people that we could say, we call it zechut avad, merit of our forefathers and foremothers. It comes like, even when we pray, in so many of our prayers are like, we remind God that we're connected to Abraham, that we're connected to Isaac and Jacob and Rachel and Leah and Sarah and Rebecca. We evoke, we bring up their names to say, God, like I might not be worthy, but it's like name dropping. We're like name dropping in our prayers because we can't do it on our own. So we have to realize that it's okay. We have like a little bit of schlep. We have what's the word? Like, what do we call it? Like we have a little bit of, pull. We have pull. Yesterday, I was trying to get my daughter into a sleepaway camp. I missed the deadline and she's on a waiting list. And I called them up and I'm like, hi guys, you don't know me, and they're like, sorry, it's closed, it's finished. And I'm like, I don't stop there. I'm like, guys, come on. I trying so hard. I'm like, and she was just saying, no, sorry, there's nothing to do. We're way overbooked. And I said, is there no way I could have some pull? Is there no way? And they said, no, but we as Jewish people always have pull. Okay, we do. Okay, so you guys could read this beautiful poem on your own. Advice from a Tree, which I love, written by an Israeli man. You have a little bit over here. All of these, by the way, this is not me making it all up, but this idea of the 4 elements is brought down by a Rabbi Shraga Simmons. He talks about these 4 elements, and it's time to bring it all forward. Okay, so we have everything we need to really make this, to be very connected to this tree. Okay, now for any questions. Everyone has homework to do. We're going to find out what carob is and what the significance in the Talmud is, what it has to do with Tu B'Shvat. Okay, and now let's talk about growth in other terms. You have a question? No, you're good? Okay. What? Oh, you have homework. So the carob, and I want you guys just to spend a few minutes like doodling on your tree and kind of make a plan for yourself. Like, where are you going with this, right? So let's talk about Tu B'Shvat and why we celebrate it now. Okay. So as I said, in Israel, most of the rain has already fallen, and the sap is rising in the tree. Now, this reminds me of the number 1 lesson that we learned here in this series, and that was not to judge people, right? Not to judge a book by its cover. We never know what people are going through in their lives. Right? We see people out there smiling, and everyone has something that they're worried about, whether we smile or not. One of my greatest teachers that I've been so privileged to be connected to is Rebbitzin Esther Jungreis, right? And I think she probably came here. A lot of you, whenever I say her name, I see lots of heads shaking. So she had this incredible, powerful question that she shared. She said, people ask her, she was going speaking all around the world to university campuses. She even flew in a jet of like an American jet, like from the George Bush's personal airplane over Germany, right, to speak or to be honored. And she said, I never thought in my life, she was a child in Bergen-Belsen, right? She never thought she would survive, let alone be like such a VIP. So the question that was posed to her after she once got down from speaking at a college campus, someone said, Rebbitzin, where does your smile start? Does it start on your lips or in your heart? And she thought about it for a moment, and she said, the truth is, in my heart, I have so many worries. I have so many fears. I probably had nightmares her whole life, right? I mean, you live with your past, it's part of you. And she said, so it starts on my lips, but then it goes into my heart. And sometimes when we do something again and again and again, we can actually change things. She was a very happy, upbeat person, but we never know what's behind that. Yes. So amazing. And I don't know if you probably heard the rest of the story. She actually shares the story that when she was in the cattle car on the way to the concentration camp, she was huddled there with her father and many of her siblings. And her father, even though it was a crazy, people were dying, it was the smells, it was just so terrible what was going on. And she was a kid and she was scared. And her father called the children over to him. And it was hard for them even to move, let alone get to their father. But he finally gets the children close to him. And he said, Kinderlech, children, I have one request of you. I want you to put a smile on your face. And Rebbitzin Esther, she said she was a kid, she was so afraid. There was nothing in her that wanted to smile. And yet her father is asking this one request of her. So she said it took all the strength she had. And her father said, I want you to smile, because if you smile, you will give encouragement to other people, which is what Pirkei Avot teaches us, that your face is public property, right? It's not, even if you're feeling the whole world on your shoulders, you still need to go out and be positive in the world. You can't just, no one likes negative people. And it's not good, because negative, breeds negativity, and positivity breeds positivity. And she said it took all the strength she had, but she put on a smile to honor her father. So all these years later, when this man asked her, where does your smile start? She shares the story and she says, you know what? Sometimes in my heart, I'm not smiling, but I put it on and it affects myself and all the people around me. So why did I get on that tangent? Tu B'Shvat. So right now we're in a very bleak time of year, okay? Dark, winter, cold, but the sap is actually rising in the trees, okay? That's in Israel right now. It's at its fullest, most potential part of growth. So the lesson that we're going to tie into our first lesson, do not judge. So do not judge a book by its cover. So in Hebrew, the words are al tistakel bakan, al tistakel bakankan ela bama sheyesh bo. Do not look at the vessel, rather look at what's inside the vessel. Now, we can't always see what's inside. We can't see what's in another person's heart. We can't see what's happening in the trunk of a tree. We can't see what people are going through. That's why we can't judge, because we can never stand in someone else's shoes and we'll never know what someone's going through. So do not judge a book by its cover. Look beyond the surface. So that is one of the growth messages of this time of year, is to go a little deeper, to take the skills, the tools that we have as growth-oriented people, and to really, really put them into practice. Okay, now something else we discussed, I think a couple weeks ago, was this idea of celebrating potential, right? I shared the idea why do we celebrate a wedding in such a big way? Why don't we just wait until like 10 years later when the couple actually is like on their feet and they've kind of succeeded somewhat, and then we'll bring out the whole smorgasbord. Why do we, if all marriages have what are the chances of divorce? It's like 50%. So why are we going all in from the beginning? And the answer that we gave a couple of weeks ago when we spoke about this is that Judaism celebrates potential. So right now, even though it's looking like, where's the potential? The trees are not in their fullest bloom. Things are just starting to like poke up, right? But it's about the potentials, what's happening behind the scenes. Oh, what potential? Oh, nice. Is that where did you put it? Right. I love it. So what do you mean by that? How do you want to actualize your potential?
I always question, we all always know what to do. I always say,
Wow. So it's kind of like just pushing you a little bit forward. Like, you know that you have so much potential. So it's like, keep going. You're not there yet. I love that. Thank you. So nice. I'm sorry that I don't know if everyone here heard what Doris just shared, but she shared what her word was in the middle of her tree, and that was potential. So she'd like to just keep pushing herself towards fulfilling her greatest potential. Okay, so Judgment Day for the trees. By the way, as I said, there are 4 Rosh Hashanahs. Did I say that? Which Rosh Hashanah do we all know about? New Year, our New Year. Okay, Rosh Hashanah for the people. Now insert Rosh Hashanah number 2, Rosh Hashanah for the trees. Okay, what are the other ones, just in case you might want to know? So harvest, I think that is one. So no, it's actually not for the harvest. That would kind of be tied in to the trees, right? Everything vegetative is kind of in Tu B'Shvat. So one of them, which doesn't pertain to us today, is for the monarchy. Okay, there's the Jewish monarchy. That is Rosh Chodesh Nisan, so the month of Pesach. When we had Jewish monarchy, we counted the rulership from the first day of the month of Nisan. Okay, so that was the Rosh Hashanah for the kings. And then the last one is Rosh Hashanah for the animals, for bringing tithing of the animals. And this one is the first day of Elul, so a month before our Rosh Hashanah. We have, and this was also only in biblical times, when we had the Holy Temple, we would bring 1/10 of our animals to the temple on this day. So there's the animals, the kings, the trees, and us. Now, there is such a strong, we're not so connected to the kings and to the animals in the same way as we are connected to the trees, because God says that a man is like a tree. So I want to put this question out to you. If the trees are being judged with, which is kind of a funny like idea, like what did they do to misbehave? Like what did tree, like how is a tree judged? And what does that have to do with us? So insert today. So this is so timely. If you noticed on our chat, I hope everyone is on our chat. We have a chat called Between Me and You, or Between You and Me. And it's, videos and what's going on, and just, it's only me sharing a little bit once or twice a week. So this morning, I put out a special prayer that is supposed to be said today, which has to do with livelihood. Because on the Tuesday, this is, I don't know when this was instituted, but our sages instituted that on the Tuesday before the week that we sing the praises of the Jewish people leaving the splitting sea, and then we go into the desert, and then we receive the man. So on this week, where we're really in the hands of God, our whole livelihood, our sustenance depends on God, we say the special portion in the Torah, the Parshat Haman. We read it, and we ask God to help us with our livelihood. And I don't know about you, but there are many, many people that could use help in this way. So if it's not to pray for yourself, pray for someone else, someone that's looking for a job, someone that fell on hard times during COVID. I mean, we don't need to look very far. Everyone needs something. So if you know someone, this is the time to tap into that. Okay. So going back to the question of the judgment of the trees, what does that have to do with us? Well, everything. We're not farmers anymore, right? We go to Jewel and we pick up our food and we think it comes like wrapped in cellophane. But how many steps did it take for this little dish of fruit, probably from all over the world, because there's actually 15 different fruit in here, which is a Kabbalistic Seder, a Tu B'Shvat Seder, which I brought my book. If anyone wants to look at this, if anyone wants to make their own Tu B'Shvat Seder, there's lots of different options in this book. So there's lots of ways of doing this. And this is for Sunday night and Monday. We could talk about it. And I'm happy to help anyone make it happen. So the judgment of the trees is directly dependent on us. Because if the trees suffer, the crops suffer, then we suffer. In fact, in last week's Torah portion, when we were learning here together, the last 3 of the plagues, the plague of locusts. Now this one, Paro went crazy on. He was like, stop it right away. Why? Because he was so afraid that the locusts were not only going to eat the crops, but they were going to dig up and eat the roots of the crops. And then his whole country, his whole nation would be finished. What are we without sustenance, right? And we've had times of droughts and times of famines, and it's terrible. When you see pictures from third world countries of starving children or with bloated stomachs, it's enough to make anyone's heart break, right? So we are so connected to how God judges the trees. We're just it's our lifeline, okay? So let's talk about some other ways that we are connected to the trees. Okay, I feel like I'm talking so much. Does anyone want to share anything or give me a second to catch my breath? No? Okay, fine, I'll just keep going. Okay, keep breathing. Okay, we have 10 more minutes and there's so much more to do. Okay, so in the book of Deuteronomy, okay, famous saying, and if you want to write this down, this is the quote. This is the main quote. Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh. Man is compared to the tree of the field, okay? And there are other comparisons in the Torah. I wanted to bring this off my wall. I will send a picture on our chat. I want to send you a picture from when Gadi and I got engaged. It was actually taken a couple days before our wedding. And we were kids. We were totally kids. We were like so adorable. And like when I look at our wedding video, I'm like, you know, so nauseous because we were like, oh my gosh, it's like we're crazy about each other. So, but on a couple days before our wedding, we went on a trip. We drove down to the Dead Sea and we have these gorgeous pictures right near the Dead Sea. So there was this very famous building and it now it looks very different. Now it says Bezek, which is like the phone company. But back in the day, it was a very famous, like it looked like you were in the middle of the desert, which you kind of are in the middle of the desert. And it says on it, Ima Adama, Mother Earth. Respect, Kabed et Ima Adama. Respect Mother Earth. And we have like these like pictures in the desert, like it was like so like, I don't know, fairy tale, right? And like the last time Gadi and I went to Israel, we're driving there, we're so excited to show our kids like where our wedding pictures took place. And it's like Bezek, like the phone company. So we were really sad about that. But Mother Earth, okay? So the first time Mother Earth, that saying, that name was brought in, was in the Torah, in the book of Esther, Megillat Esther, and Esther, Queen Esther, was called Karka Ha'olam. She was referred to as the soil of the earth. Okay? Now, if we think about soil, like, I don't know, you're just dust, your earth, like it's dirt, right? But no, because we already spoke about what soil is. Soil is everything. Soil is like the most important thing. So we have Adam, Adama, man was created from the dust, right? That's how God molded him. The dew of the heavens, the dust of the earth molded Adam, right? And then we have it again and again. Like Sarah, the matriarch, was known as like the mother of the world, the matriarch of the Jewish people. Esther, Queen Esther she's referred to as the earth. the earth of the world, the soil of the world. So what are some more parallels between us and the earth and the trees? Okay, so who remembers 7th grade science? You don't remember 7th grade? Okay, well, I don't remember much about school. I remember being out in the hall a heck of a lot, right? I was a troublemaker. In fact, I'll tell you guys a secret because we're all friends here. I actually failed 4th grade. It took me a long time to recover from that, from the humiliation of that. It was actually the hardest thing for a 10-year-old to go through, but it was the best thing I ever went through in my life because that's when I moved over to a religious girls' school. Because I was so humiliated and I didn't want to go back a grade in my co-ed school, that's when I moved into a girls' school, and that's when my life just boom, like it just like I was in the right environment. So it was the greatest gift. But it took me decades. I didn't even tell my husband that I failed 4th grade until a few years ago. He didn't know this because I couldn't even get the words out. Okay, so I do remember a little bit of school, and I remember planting seeds. Do you guys remember that science experiment where you took a lima bean, you put it in earth, you watered it, you watched it? So my kids actually did this during COVID, where they like got the whole kit, and they were homeschooled for so many months. So they planted a sunflower, and every day on Zoom, everyone would have to show their sunflower, and Shalom's was like a total dud. Like it wasn't growing. And he like gave up on it. I was like, no, let's continue going with it. Let's continue watering it. And eventually we saw something coming out, but he was like, it's not gonna work. Let's give up on it. But what we know from science class in 7th grade is that in order for something to grow, a lot of things have to happen first. Before we even see something coming out of the earth, first it needs to decompose, disintegrate, right? It needs to totally fall apart. So much is happening. It smells bad. It loses its outer shell. It looks like it's ready for the bin. It looks like it's complete garbage. But only then does it start to bring new life. Okay? So there's a lot here about, first of all, not giving up on anyone's potential that we all have deep inside of us. Never give up on another human being, because every person is, look at the air, a soul that God believes in. Every single human being is a soul, is a piece of God, godliness. And God does not create garbage. Everyone is here for a reason and for a mission, right? So we never give up on anyone, okay? So that's one. 2 is that we need to let go of the old. We need to let go of whatever it is that's holding us back. Like going out on a limb means letting go. Whatever it is that we are holding and harboring, pain, resentment, fear, whatever it is, we need to let that go in order to move forward. We're not going to be able to move forward if we're holding in the past. So that's what the seed does. It lets go of its total outer casing, and then it's able to grow. Okay? So letting go. Another lesson. We spoke about the roots. We spoke about all of that. Hold on. Another lesson about trees, okay? How long does a tree live? I don't know. I have no idea. It lives a long life. Long life, okay? Yeah. The cedars of Lebanon, I mean, they like that they were very strong, the roots. Yeah. And probably some trees will live thousands of years, right? Like, you know how you could tell how old a tree is by looking at how many rings it has. And sometimes you go to a forest. I mean, Portland was incredible, like how we drove through redwoods and all these incredible national parks, and just unbelievably green. But a tree does not live forever, right? A tree does not live forever. I don't think a tree will live forever. Wow. Oh, wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. So it's so sad. But just like we spoke about 2 weeks ago, we spoke about life and death and how this is just the hallway to the next world. And we actually, as Jewish people, we believe in the world to come. We believe in a resurrection of the dead. We believe that this is not it. There's so much more. The soul is eternal. So when we look at a tree and we see, I mean, 170 years, you said, and sometimes like trees have their lifespan. They have their time, just like a person. There's something very, very similar about a tree and how it's like a healthy way of living. Yes. Love it. Wow. Very, very nice. Thank you. So one more similarity, and then I'm going to close up this class because we're at time. Okay, so one more similarity, just like a human being has a unique fingerprint, right? And no two are alike. You'll never find two trees that are exactly the same. So a tree is 100% a one-time phenomenon. You'll never get the same tree with the same qualities, with the same energy, with the same fruit, with the same quality, with the same look, with the same branches. You'll never find it. And there are very few things. It's a human being's fingerprint and a tree. You'll never, just almost like a leaf of a tree. Also, each leaf is so different like shapes, different sizes, different qualities, different veins, totally different. So there's a lot there. Are you guys feeling very connected? Is everyone going to go home and hug a tree? Last year, my Facebook profile in Portland was me with my arms around like this big tree in front of my house. I don't know if it's going to go over so well over here, but I don't know if I'll be able to get through the ice to even get to my tree in front of my house this year. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. So I'm. Yeah. When? Oh, a lot of you came to my Tu B'Shvat thing. Yeah, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. So I'm going to end with one just beautiful out there idea. Okay. If you want to attach to it, you can. If you don't want to, you could, pass by. So on Tu B'Shvat, Kabbalistically speaking, we have this unique opportunity. This might come across a little strange, to pray for a beautiful etrog. Anyone ever hear of that? That Tu B'Shvat is the day to pray for 6 months later for the citron that you're going to shake on Sukkot. Why? What is the connection? So if I could jog your memory. Yeah, so I guess it has to do with the tree. We're celebrating, we're praying for the trees, the quality, all that. So it makes sense to you? Okay. Tell me what else you know about a citron. So if you recall, the 4 species that we take together all represent different parts of the body. The lulav represents the spine, the willows are the eyes, the aravat, hadassim, I don't remember in the English, and okay, hadassim are the eyes. The aravat, which is the willows, represents the mouth. And the etrog represents the heart. And the etrog is really the heart of the 4 species. It is it's the beautiful smelling, it's the very expensive, hard to get fruit, right? And during this time of year, with all of these beautiful lessons that we just touched upon, all having to do with our own personal growth and our own personal potential, what it comes down to Kabbalistically, pray for a good heart. See the good in others. See the good in yourself. Know that your potential is so waiting for you to tap into it. You are like a tree. You're a one-time phenomenon. You've never been before and you never will be again. You're part of this magnificent world. God put you here to do a mission. And all this beauty is really just pushing us in that direction of growth, of taking everything that we learn and everything that we bring into our lives and taking it forward into becoming a better person. So with that, I wish you guys a happy Tu B'Shvat. And I'm happy to share, maybe on our chat, I'll share a couple of videos, a couple more things to think about over the next few days. If you want to prepare your own Tu B'Shvat Seder, I empower you to do so. I could share links, whatever you need, let me know. And I will see you guys hopefully soon. So good to see you all. Here's my mask.
We love.
Oh, I'm
Well,
so Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Good, good, good. Please, please,